Welcome back to another episode of the Supercar Killer M3 presented by Turn 14 Distribution. Today, we're going to start this car or die trying. Well, everyone, if you watched our last episode, you will know we were missing this magical exhaust manifold gasket. There's, strangely, they use a two-piece gasket on the exhaust side of this motor. We had the front one, we ordered the rear one from our friends at NV Auto, and we now have the correct one. Thank you, Dove and Riley from NV Auto, you guys are the best. So this will go on here, and then we'll put on the whole hot side of the turbo system. But first, we're gonna lift this thing up in the air because we're back on the hoist and we wanna do something different. We don't wanna be in the engine bay all day again. So we're gonna get it under there to finish off the shifter rod, install our custom drive shaft, and button up a few other things. I think the clutch slave cylinder, stuff like that. So without further ado, let's go up in the air. So this is our original M3 two-piece drive shaft, which we had a shop in Toronto called Cardonic shortened by 3 inches. So we took some measurements and we figured 3 inches is the right amount to take out. And we're about to find out if we measured correctly or not. But we wanted to obviously be able to keep this center, what do you call this, carrier?
Yeah. In
the factory position, because otherwise it won't work. So we had to shorten it from this end, which is the transmission end. We couldn't touch the tail end, which should leave us in the right position. Let us pray that we did things right here. So let's try fitting it up, Pete. Well, good news, everybody. It fits. We did a thing, and we did it correctly.
We measured correctly, yes.
Yes, who knew we could use a measuring tape? So it is, I think, time to bolt this in, Pete, or do we need to take this down?
No, we need to take this down, and then we've got to work on the shift rod, which is going to be, I think, another challenge.
All right, well, at least a quick test fit proves we did it right.
I was just about to install our adjustable CAE shift rod, which I'll show you in a second, but I realized our Cooler Works shift lever, which is out of the car, lo and behold, is missing the end here that goes onto that shifter rod. And then I realized, well, DP, I think I tasked you with swapping this over.
You may have.
You haven't done so because that looks like a stripped Allen head, is it not?
Yeah, I might have tried and failed to get that out of there.
That is as stripped as it comes.
Yeah, I might have used the wrong size Allen head socket, or I don't know what happened. I could have been drunk, I'm not sure.
Man, okay, well, this is gonna be fun. I think what we're gonna try to do here is just cut a groove in it so we can fit a flathead in and hope that works.
Yeah, I don't know what else we can really do.
Because I'm trying to be very precise here. Check this out. I don't think I've busted out a manual hacksaw in a very long time. So this is gonna be a pretty simple job. This way I'm gonna take very good care. Found the widest flathead I had here. Let's drop it in. All right. Cross your fingers here, DP.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's a good
like
sound.
A glove. Woo. Disaster averted.
Indeed.
Wow.
What drama, everyone. What excitement. This is why you watch YouTube, everyone.
I know.
Watch the extraction
this world-class
stripped Allen head bolt.
Our Cooler Works shifter is back in place, and now it is time to install the shift rod. And as I mentioned, this is a CAE piece, and the reason I got this is our transmission is 3 inches back, as we mentioned, with the drive shaft. Therefore, we need a very short shift rod, and there's really nothing on the market that's adjustable other than this one. And this is a really well machined and engineered piece. As you can see, what you can do is slide the selector rod like this. And I wish we could just fit this up as is in the shortest setting as possible, but it's still too long. So what I'm gonna have to do is take this out, and we're gonna have to machine this down as much as we can and see how much room we have to slide this in here until we get our length up here. I knew we'd have to cut this short, but wow. Talk about going a little bit overboard. Like, I've cut half the length out of this, and we are still a little bit long. I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but we've kind of have the shifter in a position where we want it, and we're still just too long with it. So I'm gonna have to go even shorter on this. Quick update here. We decided to test fit this to see how everything would work, and it's actually not that bad. So I was worried I was gonna have to cut more out of here, but I'm just gonna shave this down a little bit and we should be good where we're at. And then it's just a matter of getting the square and welded together.
Like a jeweler, everyone. Working these precision instruments.
Well, we've kind of gone off the deep end here once again. We thought about welding this piece to here, but then we thought, you know what, if we have this adjustment, just in case, if there's anything wrong, or if we get this crooked and it doesn't want to go into gear, we kind of have one shot. Otherwise, I got to reorder one of these things, and they're not cheap. I think they're like almost 250 bucks or something. So I don't want to screw this up, and I think having the adjustment will be able to give us the opportunity to fine tune this versus welding it up, and then we're kind of like stuck there. So all that small little filing is paid off. Would you look at this? We've got ourselves a shifter in place, and it is working, ready to go. Let me jump up and I'll row through the gears to show you guys, but man, this has been a little bit of a journey, but everything works. All right, here we go.
Banging gears. Ooh, it looks good. Oh yeah, it's moving nice and freely.
And we got reverse.
Sweet.
So, the shifter's nice and tight. I feel like I was gonna cheat you without showing you the actual shifter up here and how it feels, and it is badass. Look at this thing. Oh my goodness. We still have a little bit of fine tuning to do. That's the beauty of the Cooler Works shifter. There's a ton of adjustment here, so you can get the throws down, the side-to-side action perfectly. So some minor adjustment, but I think we've got a huge win, so it is time to move on. If some of you recall, the trans mount that Freed Engineering built us was only tack welded on, so I just went and welded it up, spray painted it. So while we're waiting for that paint to dry, I decided to look at this area here for heat retention and like heat screens and whatnot. The M3 actually has a lot of really nice heat reflective shields. So this one goes right here, but there was this one area missing right here. So I busted out my DEI heat screen with adhesive backing. This stuff I've never used before, and man, I've got to say it goes on exceptionally well. I really love how it contours to the chassis. So I've just been like slowly peeling this back and just kind of like working my finger around it, and you can see it just like wraps so nicely to the chassis, so it doesn't look like it's gonna fall off. The adhesive looks good, and best of all, it's now kind of the missing link in between here, which is where our downpipe is, to this heat screen here. So I think we're gonna be good to go with that, and now it is time for us to move on to, I think, the clutch slave. We gotta figure this out. I purchased our clutch line from Hack Engineering because, well, when I saw how well engineered everything is, like, take a look at the end of this, and actually more so this side. This is like the crimped side that goes to the slave. I screwed up because I realized it's for right-hand drive. And that means it's on the other side of the car, obviously, so it's double the length of what I needed. Therefore, I had to have Charles Jones cut it down. Clutch line is in. I've also gone ahead and hooked up our reverse switch here and put in some heat shields.
Man, looking at the clock here, and we've spent the better part of a day just buttoning up this engine bay, and that's because this is reality, everybody. There's a lot of little jobs that have to get done when you do an engine swap where you want the car to run properly, have it hooked into the heater core, and have it hooked into everything else that you want it to be a true, streetable car. So we're not faking the funk here, everybody. We're putting in the work, including installing the map sensor, which Pete has tucked away neatly here against the firewall. We've got all kinds of other stuff buttoned up in here. Oh, by the way, we got our turbo housing back from JP at Stripping Tech Inc. in Cambridge, Ontario. He Cerakoted it to match the charge pipe and the downpipe and all that, so that is on there and looking good. I should mention the wideband is in. This is a X series wideband from AEM. We have one in there now. This is just a sample unit, and Mark from Panic Wire wired it up for this already, so we could literally just plug it in. And I should mention that these X series widebands are the fastest responding widebands on the market, as verified by independent testing done in like laboratory conditions. And if you're wondering why that matters, I mean, the Coles Notes version is the faster this responds, the more accurate your air-fuel ratio data is when the tuner is looking at that stuff. But if you want more information on it, jump onto our website, speed.academy, and you'll find a whole story there about why response time matters with widebands, including that independent data that I built into that story. So go check that one out. What else we got going on here, PT? We've got everything plumbed up now on the hot side, including the water lines and the oil field line, which we put this DEI fire sleeve on. And we are about to install our DEI turbo blanket. This is their titanium turbo blanket. And as you can see, this is a heavy duty unit. And it comes in a variety of sizes. I think it's like T25/28, T3, T4, and T6. This is obviously size for our GT35. And it has a really heavy duty insulation layer here of like a high temp silica. And obviously this titanium based cover on it is extremely heat resistant. In fact, you can put a direct flame on it and it won't burn, and it can handle direct heat up to 1800 Fahrenheit. So this is really heavy duty stuff. It's also got double reinforced seams, which makes it very durable in high boost, high temperature scenarios like we're gonna be throwing at it. So excited to get this on here. It comes with these true riveted on attachment points. So we're just gonna wire it on the turbo now. There you have it. Titanium turbo shield is in place, wired up nicely by the man behind the camera here. And we should mention, just in case you're wondering why we put a turbo blanket on there, they are obviously both a heat barrier to trap heat and keep heat in the turbo, which makes it a more efficient system, but it also prevents radiant heat from soaking the engine bay. And obviously, if you heat soak the intake and everything else, you're going to lose power. So same kind of deal with this Cerakote coating. It's designed to trap heat inside of the turbo, and this is adding a layer on top of that. So we are doing everything we can to keep heat in the turbo and out the exhaust and out of the engine bay, which means we're really close actually to being ready to put the front end on and hook up the charge pipes and the water pipes. But we do have one last small job to do here, which is to wire up our AEM boost solenoid. I think we're just going to mount it down in here. And you can see we got to terminate these wires to a DTM connector, which will then plug into the panic harness right here.
I had to pull the rad out one more time because I've been working on the fan wiring, which I forgot we needed to do. Thankfully, Mark over at Panic Wire has figured out how to make the factory fan controller work, which is awesome. So all I have to do is take these two wires, hook them up to the fan, and we've got ourselves a fully controlled fan through the ECU. However, while trying to hook this up, after I had finished all this nice wiring, guess what happened? Of course, DP.
Every time, buddy.
Look at the nastiness that is in here. Like the corrosion level was very high. I didn't see it because it was covered up, and then it broke.
Only 17 years old.
Well, yeah, and to make matters even better, you can't just source this. You actually have to buy a whole auxiliary fan assembly because this was mounted here. So this is one unit. I'm gonna, I guess, scrounge some of the, or scour some of the junkyards to see maybe they've got one kicking around, or worst case, I'll buy a new one. It's expensive. But on a positive note, some stuff has happened here. Not a lot, but we are getting closer. I've hooked up the boost controller, so it is officially wired in, ready to go. I've got the vacuum lines run, and by the way, I wanted to get some proper vacuum lines, new stuff, or not use, this is what most people would, if you go to a local parts shop, you'd get just like regular tube that's windshield washer fluid or something like that. This is proper vacuum hose, silicone from Vibrant Performance, so this is gonna work out well. I also wrapped it in a little bit of DI heat wrap here just to ensure that the heat management is good. So with this little snag, I think what we're gonna do is just forge ahead here, mount everything up, and then we'll get back to this afterwards.
As you can see, we've bolted up the front end here, and by front end we mean the rebar and the intercooler and the radiator But we're not going to put the front bumper on and the headlights in and stuff because we've got a little bit more work to do. But we're going to fire it up as is in Frankenstein mode.
Just in case
here.
we need to pull it apart, right?
Yeah, there may be, we want to be able to check for leaks and everything. This will just make it easier. And speaking of leaks, to prevent those on our charge pipes, we are using these stainless steel T-bolt clamps from Vibrant Performance. And the beauty of these, of course, is that they make a much more positive connection between the silicone hose and the hard pipes. They give you really even pressure. They're much more durable and reliable than your typical worm clamp style. So far less likely to have a failure of these or have one blow off when you're putting a lot of boost through the system like we plan to do. So one of the last details in the engine bay is our brake booster. And this is a one-way check valve. This is actually the original check valve from the M3. So it won't allow boost pressure to go into the booster. So it is just gonna plug in here.
We had to put that sweet reducer on it too, because like, look at the size of this small little nipple here. It's kind of crazy.
And in case you're wondering why that looks a little wet, Pete was just testing it to see if it works. So here we've got our factory overflow tank from the M3, and it normally lives in this location up here. See, it bolts here, and it had a coolant line that went to the motor, which is different now since we're running a different motor. And as you can see, it wouldn't fit in this location. We could have tried to like force it down into here somewhere else, but it's too crammed. So, and you can also see that this is where the rad cap would have lived with an overflow and everything, which is now here, which means we needed a different solution. So for a much cleaner, more compact solution, we went to Chase Bays. You'll recall we used their power steering reservoir. This is their coolant overflow tank, which is quite an ingenious design and I think also a really nice looking piece. We're gonna tuck it away back here so it won't necessarily be on show all that much, but really the beauty of it is rather than having a bleed off the cap here so that when it fills and overflows, it just kind of pukes everywhere and makes a huge mess in your engine bay. Instead, they've got an inlet and an outlet port here. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it inside here or not, Pete, but there is a tube that comes...
Deep, dark abyss.
It is a deep, dark abyss. Well, trust me when I say there's a tube from the overflow outlet here that comes all the way up to just an inch underneath the cap. So what that means is this has to fill with fluid and go over the top of that tube before it reaches the cap and tries to puke out the top. It will drain out that tube to a hose that we can route either externally on the car or to a secondary reservoir if you wanted to. So basically it allows you to control this situation and not just end up with a bunch of coolant puking all over your engine bay in a scenario where you're running hot and need to relieve some of that pressure. So I think that's a really clean, clever design that they've come up with. And it comes with 5 different mounting brackets. So they sent us a few of those brackets, but they have 5 to choose from on their website. So you can figure out where you want to mount it in your engine bay beforehand, and chances are they're going to have a bracket that will do the job for you. So it's a very well thought out product. And there you have it. Our Chase Bay overflow tank is bolted in place, and conveniently there is a drain hole in the bottom of this area that goes to the outside of the car. So we've just routed that overflow line right out there, and we are good to go on that. So to complete our coolant system, we have one last detail to take care of, and that is dealing with this opening here, which the factory line would normally run off of to the factory overflow tank, but we've deleted all that, so we need to plug that hole. To do that, we ordered an aluminum replacement piece. As you can see here, this line is prone to breaking off the plastic plug, as it did on our car. So Hack Engineering makes an aluminum version of this, which allows you to convert over to a much more durable setup. And it just so happens that aluminum would also be relatively easy to plug up. So that was our plan, and we ordered one, and we had one, and it's gone missing.
I lost it, DP.
I don't know where it went.
I don't know where I put it. It's gone.
The mice are eating it now. So as a sort of a short-term solution, we took this and just epoxied up the hole in it. So we'll plop that in there to close off our coolant system so that we can actually fill the system with coolant. And then when we get our replacement one, because you did order a new one from Hack, we will make that a more permanent solution. So I think it might be time to start filling this thing up with fluids, starting with our Xerex coolant by Valvoline. This is designed obviously for Asian vehicles. It says right here, Toyota, Lexus, Scion. So we know we're good to go with this.
Oh, this is a BMW though.
I know. Well, it's a reverse Supra really. Is what we got to think of it as. And this is their pre-diluted solution, so it's already mixed to 50-50.
I am back onto the BMW Fan Controller. Ours was broken, so thankfully, Rob over at Auto Evolution, I don't know if you guys have been following along, but he has that BMW M3 crashed car. he came to the rescue, and here is a new controller that I'm gonna be very careful with. It's a little worn on the sides as well, but I'm gonna be much more careful, make sure we can use this and swap it over. And this time around, NAM at NV Auto, look at this. Like, look at the packaging. NAM, thank you. These are DTM connectors. I'm not gonna be using these spade connectors anymore. He spared me on that. I really want to invest in a DTM connector setup, but like this tool, I think is like $300. So we don't do enough of it. Thankfully, NAM is just down the street from us, so we can pick that stuff up. So I'm gonna get to swapping this over.
And there we have it, everyone. The fan controller is in place. Pete did a nice job wiring that all up. And man, this engine bay is looking pretty good. You've done an awesome job just like routing everything. There's a lot going on.
Man, it looks real good.
It does look great the way everything matches with all the Cerakote finishes and fresh powder coat on the valve cover. In any case, this thing is pretty much buttoned up, so it means it's time to sauce it up. For that, we are using our go-to engine oil. This is a Valvoline full synthetic in a what appears to be European vehicle blend. They like the 40 weight in Europe, and we like the 40 weight in our 2JZ. It's what NV Auto recommends running in a high performance application like this. The factory fill is like a 5 or 10 W30, although sometimes they also list a 40 weight depending on whether it's the VVTI or if it's a non-VVTI. In any case, stepping up to a slightly heavier oil is never a bad idea when you're going to really torture test an engine. And we found through extreme endurance testing on all of our cars that the Valvoline full synthetic stuff stands up remarkably well to racetrack abuse. Oh, by the way, I love this anti-glug lid that they've been using for the last couple of years. It's a really clever design, big opening with this spout on it, and it pours remarkably smoothly with no...
Ooh, damn, I think that's the first time you've never spilt it.
Oh man, it's the bottle, PT, it's all the bottle. Jumping underneath here, it is time to put in our transmission and differential fluids, and for that we've gone with the BMW factory fill. This is their MTF LT2. It's a strange weight. It's like a 75 W80, I think. And having experimented with some other fluids in the drift car, we've been told and have heard from some friends that the OE fluid just seems to work better in these gearboxes. So that's what we're going with here. It takes 2 liters. Busted out the Swedish Austin Powers pump here.
You got an opener.
Oh, I got an opener. Come on, baby. All right, there you go. Let's see if I have the power to move this fluid. It's actually really light fluid, so it's flowing nice and easy. I have now loaded our Shagadelic enhancement pump with the rear differential fluid, also the BMW factory fill. It is a somewhat strange 75W140, and according to Peter, the color, this golden color, is appropriate since it cost $1 million.
It is liquid gold, essentially, yeah.
How much did this cost? Do you recall?
I think it was $50.
That's pricey stuff, but
1 liter.
Again, we're told that the diffs really do prefer this OE fluid, so that's why we're going with it in this instance. And a shout out to Bud's BMW, who give us great pricing on all OE BMW parts, which we've used on our drift car and now on this baby. So thank you. And if you live in the Southern Ontario area, everybody, go to Bud's and say hi to them from Speed Academy. All right, let's load this in here and see how much harder this heavier fluid is to push in than the tranny fluid was. Wish me luck, everybody.
You gotta open the pump again.
Oh my God, again, eh? Every time. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's not often I get to use
I don't want to see it come out
the
the back end there, that's why.
That's, oh no, it's flowing nice. Well, I'm feeling the burn in the shoulders, everybody, but we'll get her done. We'll get her done.
This is officially the last piece that we are gonna install on this car before we fire it up. And man, I gotta say, how awesome is titanium? Like, look at this. It's so light and magical. I'm gonna be able to just do this all on my own here, line it up, slide it into the hangers. I don't know, can you do this, DP? No, not many times, or you can do this job yourself.
It's pretty wild.
Oh, she is on. Oh, there's one thing I want to show you guys though. If you've got an exhaust system that moves around a lot, this isn't a good example at all, but you can see that the gap on the hanger rod here allows the movement of the rubber hanger here. And so Vibrant actually has these plastic hanger rod clips that go on as such, and what they do is they just reduce the amount of movement that you have in your exhaust system, which is nice if it's really tight like this one, if there's potential to smack something. But the biggest problem is I can't get it on here.
Tight fit. I guess that's the whole point.
Yeah, there it goes. Woo. So as you can see, now it's on there, and this is not going anywhere. And as I just mentioned, our exhaust system isn't a great example of that, but most systems, when you build them, you don't have like this type of metal hanger that's so close here that doesn't lock it in place. So if you've got one that's moving around, this is a great way to kind of just like settle your exhaust and keep it in line.
The moment of truth, PT.
It's go time. Many, many months have come to this point here. I'm worried, man. I'm worried.
It's stressful. It is.
And here's the preface. We were supposed to get in touch with Mark Panic to do a bunch of like pre-setup, but we haven't been able to get in touch with him today, and we just want to see if this thing will start. So if this turns over and starts and it runs for 30 seconds, that is a huge victory, and then we'll have to like figure everything out from there. But right now, we just want to see if this thing will start. So,
All right.
ready?
Good luck, everybody. Come on, baby.
We got nothing. Starter's not working.
I hear the fuel pump in the throttle body.
There's no starter.
The starter's dead, or is the...
No, the
Yeah, you can hear the
starter.
starter's not engaging, right?
Yeah, we got nothing. All right, well.
Do we have no power to the starter then?
Or, like I said, it could be a coating thing. Who knows?
Okay.
All right, well.
Let's figure it
A
out.
bit of a disappointment, you know? I was hoping this thing would fire right up, but we're going to have to go back to the drawing board here. So I know we said we'd die trying to get this thing started today, and we almost did. Believe it or not, guys, we are in day 3 of shooting this episode, buttoning everything together. Like, this was a lot of work. And at this point, I think we're going to have to call this a fail on our part. We're not going to be able to get this thing started up because I just realized we probably don't even have a base map loaded on the link. We really do need to connect with Mark and get some things sorted out before we can try to crank this thing over. With that being said, I think we're gonna wrap it. We're exhausted, we're tired. We've been working on this car for 3 days. So it is officially a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. I know you wanted to see this thing start. Trust me, me and Dave wanted to see this thing start so badly too, but you're gonna have to wait one more episode.
Hey guys, just want to let you know about a special Patreon offer that we've just launched. We wanted to celebrate the fact that you guys have been supporting us on Patreon for many years now, and to say thanks, we are going to build one of your cars. To be eligible for this, you have to be a supporter at the $25 or $50 a month level, and you have to do that from the registration date, which started today and will run till February 10th. And if you get in then and you stick with us until June when we do the draw to see who our winner is, then you will be in that draw. You'll be eligible to win it. If you're in at the $25 level, you'll have 1 entry. If you're in at the $50 level, then you'll have 2 entries. I think you guys can follow the math on that one. For any of our patrons who are in at a lower level, this may be a good time to jump up to say the $25 a month level and get on this while you can. And what are we gonna do as far as build your car goes? Well, we're not gonna do a 2J swap. We're not gonna strip the chassis bare like we have with our Evo here. We're gonna do more of a simple build like we did with that Subaru BRZ and that Pimp My Ride style episode. So imagine a wheel and tire package, maybe some basic brake upgrades, maybe a coilover system, intake exhaust, that kind of stuff. So we will communicate with the winner about what kind of mods to do to their car, because obviously we'll need to know what kind of car you have and all that kind of good stuff. So this is a limited time offer. You have 1 month. You have until February 10th, 2020 to get signed up. So jump in now, stick with us till June and see if you're a winner.
Dead of winter, everybody, but somehow we got a spider alive on our car.
We may be approaching the apocalypse soon, but the spiders and the cockroaches, they will outlive us all.